What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. I got a very cool one today. A lot of you have been requesting a retro demo. So we're going to look at my favorite T-Side in CSGO history. And historically, it's a very special one by any metric. This is going to be gla1ve's calling for Astralis to win their very first major, their E-League 2017 Atlanta major, and the comeback that they put up against Virtus.pro at this major. This was truly an enormous accomplishment because at this major final, as we'll look at the results, this is Astralis' first major. This was Kirby. Did a video on Kirby recently talking about his train and him on Astralis. He was MVP of this major as well as MVP of the grand final specifically. And in this final, it was 2-1, and on the third map, Virtus.pro actually were up 13-7 on their CT side. And at the time, Train was very CT sided. And so this was also an Astralis that could not stop losing, right? Choking was a big thing for Astralis. And bringing on Kirby, bringing on gla1ve's, these are two things that changed that. Huge, okay? Especially gla1ve's. This was the first time that I had really learned what it meant to have good conditioning on a Counter-Strike team, because I saw it at the highest level, and it was so perceptible, it made you think, why don't we see this in every single match? And I think this is where gla1ve's comes in as the best IGL of all time. 4 majors to his name. He starts off with this one. He breaks Astralis' curse of choking. Normally it was in the semis, so even just making the final was really amazing. But he does it off a comeback in a grand final versus a very strong team at the time on one of their best maps. And so now we're going to look at how they were able to do that. Now, this is such a special match. I actually have done a video with gla1ve's himself where I went luckily at Blast, I was able to record a game with gla1ve's, record this video with gla1ve's where I talked over the grand final, this very game that we're going to watch, and talked about the entire comeback from 13-7 and went over every single round. And this is such a special piece of content to me, something I've always wanted to do, and something that I'm going to revisit on this channel just because not everyone's seen this, and you guys have really wanted to watch a historic demo. So here is a historic demo, really special part of CSGO history as far as I'm concerned. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. Don't know if I'm going to upload this one today or tomorrow. I'm going to cast the finals of DreamHack Fall tomorrow, and uploaded the Shiro demo today. And in the Shiro, with these demos, I am so embarrassed to upload the videos from a few weeks ago where I wasn't standing. The energy's a little bit lower. Like even just a couple weeks ago, the videos have changed so much. So I kind of want to get those videos out there. I think the Shiro demos were really cool, but I want to just put those videos out because I'm kind of tired of. I kind of can't watch those anymore. It hurts me to watch those games now, to watch those old demo reviews now that we've gone and done some much cooler ones. So this one's not got a long intro. I'm going to the chiropractor in like 40 minutes, so I wanted to make sure that the intro for this actually wasn't too long. But we can talk a lot about what's going on here. So let's start here where, this goes up 13-7. So it gets a little bit hairier. Astralis trying something slow. And, of course, the lead is huge for Virtus.pro. So I'm sure they're a bit shaken up. And this is a decent start. They get the slow round outside. But they've already lost the first 3 rounds in the second half. And this round rests on a knife edge at all different points in it, right? They're going slow, but it's pretty scary. Maybe Pasha finds one more here. Oh, he actually just walks by one, actually. That's a free kill. So 2 up. It's going to be an expensive round for Astralis and a little bit tense, right? They pull it off, but it's a little bit tense. And now Virtus.pro can buy up again. And I think they smell blood in the water a little bit. Virtus.pro are a team that are not scared. They doesn't afraid of anything. And in a final like this isn't their first rodeo. This should have been another final win for them, actually, for sure. So they're going to buy up, half buy, with just these CZs and Mag 7s. And Astralis, this is the turning point, really. Because You know, this is where you have to make a decision as an IGL. And in the past, this is where Astralis would have made the safe decision, right? When they had a choking issue, this is when they would have said, "Okay, let's just not die, guys. Let's play it safe, right? Let's make sure we win. Let's just not lose, you know." But that, of course, is not going to win you a major grand final. You've got to really take it by the horns and just do what you think is the best decision, not what you think is the safest decision. There's no such thing as this. There's no correlation between the safest decision and the correct decision. There's just the correct decision, whether that's playing safe or playing aggressive. And I think that's a very important distinction. So here the eco comes out. They try the exact same slow round again, and this leaves Dupree in a 1v2. And honestly, this dead period here in the 1v2 with Dupree low, I know this is where gla1ve's brain has to start working. And you have to understand the amount of pressure that's in this. If you were playing matchmaking, of course you would be happy to be like, let's rush again. You know, let's actually rush this round, because if we don't do something different, eventually Virtus Pro are going to win this game. And we look at the scoreboard; they've already won 4 or 5 rounds here in the second half, and we've got a long road back. So they go for the Tech 9 buy, and they're going to invest some money. And honestly, they need to win this eco round. And there's a lot of cool stuff about this. So, you know, one thing we learned about gla1ve's style after this, from here on out really, 3 majors after this, is that he is known to try the same thing over and over again, but have small, very nuanced changes to the beginning of the round, so that it seems like they're not going to do the same thing again. But ultimately, the way gla1ve's brain works is that if something works, you want to try to do it again. You just want to make it seem like you're not doing that again. I talk about that all the time in casting. From the perspective of being able to win the next round, you have to think about what's worked in the past. And so a big part of staging a comeback is either being able to identify what you haven't tried that you need to do, or identify what you can do again that's already worked. And that's pretty much what's beautiful about that is it's as pretty much as simple as the game plan is. And so on these trained T-sides, there's a couple of tempos. Of course, we're watching Astralis go very slowly. Here they're doing it with Tech 9s, and they're not going to win a round like this without a little bit of luck. And fortunately for them, of course, they do have a little bit of luck today. So we're seeing the execute come in. They throw that E-box smoke that we saw to devices right just now, and a sandwich smoke. And just to use this eco round, let me show you. Okay, because it's going to set up the rest of the half. This sandwich smoke right here, and this E-box smoke, when you look at the sight lines back here, you can see T-Con from here, but not if there's a sandwich smoke. And from Z, you can see T-Con, but not if there's an E-box smoke. So those 2 smokes are very key. The only player that really gets the middle of it is going to be Neo, who sits around here. And he's the only one who can tell you if outside nades are a fake or if there's really players there. If you throw those 2 smokes every single round, you force this Virtus Pro to fight for some information, to either have Neo play there over and over again, or to waste a lot of utility, assuming that it is going to be a rush. That's a very important part and standard part of conditioning on train, and something you should look for in other maps that teams do. What same smokes do they throw a lot? On Mirage, window and top cat, or do they throw the fast cat smoke every round to block off the cat player from seeing connector? Or what are the smokes that they throw consistently? And for a train, it's this E-box and sandwich smoke. Whether or not you go outside, whether or not it's a fake exec outside, it's good to throw those first. There's not much you can do about it, right? You can counter a Molotov with a smoke, but you can't counter a smoke with a Molotov. You can't counter a smoke with a flash. It's ephemeral cover, but it is a full wall for all intents and purposes for the time that it's up. If you don't have a player on the other side of it, you can't see through it. There's no way to get further information unless you work around it in some sense. And there's no good places to stand to check on T-Con. No safe places to stand if there's a sandwich smoke and if there's an E-box smoke. Now the other place you can go, of course, is back 6 and peek the right side, but that can be unsafe and it doesn't give you full information on T-Con. So now 8-13, and they might know that they've broken the economy of Virtus Pro. It really depends if they see what we see. So they see that they were poor in the middle of those 2 rounds. So yeah, they could potentially find that out. So they play this one like an anti-eco, get a little bit of information, rely on Kirby to exec outside, and then just start mowing down pistols. So far, so good. They throw those same 2 smokes again, and then eventually go into the back 6 smoke, plant safely, and move on to the next round. Now, this is the real test, of course, right? Was it really a fluke to win that eco and an anti-eco? How are you going to reinvent yourself? So you see these same smokes come out this time around, but this is where Astralis start to turn the tempo up. And there's something about playing a slow round that's easier to call, you know? Work the map, don't rush, be careful, and if we lose that way, it doesn't feel as bad. But if you lose, it doesn't matter how it feels. And so gla1ve here just focuses on what's an outside exec, spamming, putting pressure, and we see Neo forced to walk around the sandwich smoke, actually goes through the smoke, and they're going to hear him now. That gets called out because they put pressure going quickly, and they found some success. So this is a gamble a little bit, right? You know, nobody knows how gla1ve calls. gla1ve is kind of new to this team. And in this half so far, we haven't seen a faster exec like we just saw. So it's a risk, but it's one that he felt he needed to take, and it's one that paid off in dividends. Now, they get that Neo kill for free. He has no impact. They end up winning the round 3 alive on that outside take, and Virtus Pro have to save again. Now we're going to get the same smokes outside here. See that sandwich smoke to block off lines. Device is going to cover everything else. And Device is what makes it a bit precarious to try to peek into T-Con for information. So now they're going to bust out all the same grades. They're going to have one at IV to make sure no one peeks IV. Deny some information, but they know that it is an eco round. Okay, so anti-ecos in general are going to be played a bit more safely. Sometimes they aren't, than other rounds. And even if you already have decided what you're going to do on the next rifle round, suddenly throwing in a slow round doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything to Virtus Pro, doesn't mean anything to Astralis. Both teams know it's an anti-eco. So they don't want to get triple naded inside a T-Con. They don't want to get pushed and flanked. They don't want to do something fast for no reason. They don't need to. But after all this, we had some. We're going to see the same bits of utility thrown outside, denying vision. Look, they're searching for this information, and suddenly Astralis are going to go inside for the first time. Now, Virtus Pro stacked with 2 players here, so Astralis standing behind a smoke are a little bit worried. But Virtus Pro no longer have the sandwich player because Neo died. They don't know if it's going to be T-Con exec. They haven't made any moves to recollect information. They're playing a little bit more static at this moment. So now, with 2 riflers inside, they're going to feel pretty comfortable still. And this should be a bit scary for Astralis, but the exec is good. And the riflers, they don't get enough. A little bit of damage there from Neo. But we see Device's position controlling the T-connector rotate. So at least he can say no one's running up the side of Pop, and he can also, you know, grab some frags easily there. Those kills don't happen as much these days, but it's still very common for an operator to camp on the ramp, basically, and look for kills like that. So here's quite a close call, but the exec is simply good, and the trades end up becoming good enough, and that leaves Snacks in a 1vx that he can't win, and Astralis become one step closer now to actually bringing this round to 30 rounds or whatever. Snacks holds on to his gun from the last round. So here's Astralis to have the bomb all the way back and spawn in this round. Once again, play it something like an anti-eco. Kirby fails his trade, which is, of course, where you start to shit yourself if you're Astralis. Did we really just throw away a gun versus pistols? And they'll go back to collect the bomb. Bialy scoops the gun. So now they're up an extra rifle on this round. and things are not looking too great, right? This is where you're really, really scared about losing the round. And it's also one where, because you don't get the opening kill, it's no longer your round that you called in freeze time, right? It's a new round. It's a 4v5. It's a 4v5 anti-eco where the team got a new gun. So what does gla1ve do? Well, he decides, unless they're going to go ahead and stack both of those guns inside, we can probably have a better chance versus pistols, busting open inner. But Virtus Pro smartly stacked inside, right? A big gamble by them. We've seen re-execs that happened outside this half. And it comes close, but Virtus Pro, they make a good read. Now on an eco, a gamble like that, those, again, these are the kind of plays that actually that'll win you a major. Virtus Pro take a huge risk here by overstacking inner, but it's a perfect read on gla1ve. And now mentally, this might be a hit to the ego a little bit, right? It might harm the integrity of the next call. Team's going to be a little bit worried. gla1ve, we just walked into a stack on inside, and this is versus pistoling players. Did we make a mistake? Like, are we going to be able to win this round? And this is the really special round to me. The fact that after something like that, when you would really be doubting yourself, where you just lost that really key free anti-eco to make it 13-13, that from what we've seen, we've had these delayed pops, explosions outside, but a little bit delayed pops that have gone outside, and a couple of inner hits, one successful, one not. And you call around like this, where now you are not, he's going to go ahead and have them go for a similar exec. They throw the same smokes. They're breaking the same glass here. This is a back six smoke. And they're trying to draw the attention of the CTs, who don't believe that Astralis would go inner 2 times in a row, right? Condition them to believe that they should be afraid of inner. And this is how Astralis both condition Virtus Pro and respond to conditioning on Virtus Pro. An insanely brave call to make after what we just witnessed. And it pays off, right? Virtus Pro stack towards inner pays off. Astralis' same smokes they use outside, plus the courage to go for an inner hit after running into a stack on the very last round pays off. Just think about the circumstances here, right? This game is no different. Matchmaking, scrim, pug, match, right? Group stage, semifinal, final. It's the same game. The only thing that changes is the circumstances. And the only thing that Astralis had to overcome was the circumstances. Being able to make a call like that in a situation like this with your major on the line is what made the difference in Astralis and is what started an era for this team. And that round, I think, is a real good example of why they're able to do and overcome their previous results. And now, really, the table is open. At this point, if I'm gla1ve, I could do anything. And look what they do. They actually go for an inner hit again. They go back to the same site 3 times, start rushing inner. After losing, running into it the previous round. You would think that, and what we've seen is that Astralis have called slow anti-ecos where they work things out. As soon as it didn't work, gla1ve decided not to do the same thing again. As soon as Virtus Pro thought that they were in Astralis' head, Astralis called them out on a gamble. And now, they go outside quickly. No pause required. They decide to go for a rush. Everybody trusts the call. And then the trades come out instantly. I just want to hammer this home. You have to understand how brave these calls are for the circumstances. This is simply why this is my favorite T-half called of all time. So many reasons. The circumstances of Astralis, starting their era. gla1ve as an IGL, establishing himself as an all-time great IGL just by winning a simp 1 major. And for Astralis to be making all of these brave and really hard calls to read. And now, in today's era, people call more like gla1ve. People understand how gla1ve calls. And he still manages to get away with a lot of it, which is truly what's harder than even getting to this point in the first place, right? Being somebody that people understand but still winning games. Astralis come through. They win an outside rush on round 29 after rushing inner 2 rounds in a row and are a completely different team from the first 5 or 6 rounds of this half. In the third map of a major grand final. And suddenly, 3 rushes inside, 1 fast rush outside, and now the same thing outside, but a focus on ladder, but a straight up rush. No good guns here for Virtus Pro. Astralis keep the pressure at 1,000. They force these guns to fight open lanes. They don't even smoke back 6 on this one, just a simple Z smoke, and they get all the trades. Don't have any trouble, and that's it. They literally won the major off this. And we look at the history of these rounds, right? The first 4 of 5 to make it a 13-7 scoreline after 1 round. We had a slow round that worked out, a couple of fast rounds outside, the change up with the E-box and sandwich smoke to the inner hit, losing 1 round here to an inner hit, rushing it 2 more times, and then going back outside. It's truly amazing stuff. And this is gla1ve's saying no more choking. Astralis saying 3 more majors. Astralis becoming the greatest team to ever play this game. And for gla1ve to now hold the mantle of greatest IGL in the history of the game. I mean, it's just, bar none. He plays a key role as a fragger. He plays a key role as a tactician, as a, mid-round caller, everything, really. And it all starts right here at the E-League Major 2017. A really, really great game to watch. Recommend just watching the VOD if you want to go and revisit it. So, of course, this isn't an extremely old demo, but at this point, it's a few years now. It's almost 4 years old. It's pretty cool to roll back the clock a little bit, and I'd be happy to do more historic demos. This was just my personal favorite if we rock it back a little bit, and a very important piece of our history. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed that one. I thought it was really cool. I'm glad I got to watch that again. And of course, this is with the context of gla1ve watching the demo with me. This is a demo that I had studied so much at this point, and so I was very prepared to ask him questions about this. I kind of knew a lot of what the answers would be, but I got to talk more with him about the psychology of his decisions and to really get a second understanding of the conditioning of everything. And so, yeah, I'll leave a link for this one in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you back here for another demo. So thanks for watching. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for everything. Appreciate y'all.